Hello wildlife watchers, welcome back for an all new Safari Insights video. My name is Jeff Hired, I'm a safari travel advisor. I'm someone that helps people like you arrange their dream safaris in Africa. If you're interested in visiting places like Botswana or other wildlife destinations in Africa, reach out to me. All you have to do to kickstart the plan making process is send me a safari inquiry. You can find that in the description below this video. I work with a wide network of personally vetted and vouched tour operators and safari experts. We piece together every part of your trip to create a full encompassing experience, including the best of the best. To show you an example of what a customized safari can look like, in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how I spent 7 days on safari in Botswana. This is a full encompassing itinerary where everything is included. The transfers, the guides, the stays, the meals, the everything. This safari was very unique because I experienced several different accommodation tiers. I started in a rustic, more entry-level stay, upgraded to mid-range, and then ended in ultra luxury. As a safari travel advisor, it's important for me to experience all of these different styles of stays so I can best match them with you based on your needs and preferences. If you're curious, this trip took place in January during the lush and vibrant green season in the Okavango Delta. If you aren't aware, the Okavango Delta is one of the natural wonders of the world, a bucket list safari destination for many. This is an inland delta that is surrounded by the dry Kalahari Desert. Every year, water floods into the delta and sustains all the wildlife and vegetation in this region. It is the lifeblood and essential source of water for all of this life, and this is the region where most of my trip was focused on. While the delta wasn't flooded this time of year I went, I still had an extraordinary experience. I spotted diverse wildlife, glided through waterways on Mokoro, and stayed in some truly unforgettable places. The delta typically floods from May to September, but this video will show you that you can have a great experience in Botswana even if you don't travel during that season. Alright, that's enough context. Let's jump into the itinerary now, starting with day 1. I started my journey by flying into Maun, Botswana from Johannesburg, where a representative from Delta Air greeted me for my charter flight into the delta. The flight system in the Okavango Delta I find is quite impressive. Every day, small aircraft connects guests between 40 plus camps, making seamless transitions throughout the region. Every single day, the flight patterns are different because guests are coming and going at different schedules. They do an awesome job of keeping these flights as prompt as possible. And if you're like me, you might be wondering, do they fly even if the weather is bad? Honestly, if it's like anything I observed on my trip, the planes still go out, rain or shine. We flew through some heavy rains, no problem. It just seems to be like another day in the Delta to them. So after my first scenic flights on these charter planes, I made it to my first camp, the Oddballs camp. The accommodation levels are a bit more primitive. We have a basic bed and a tented style room. There's one light switch, one chest to store your personal items in, and the bathroom is an open air concept. The shower situation is that you have to fill it up and hoist it up above you before taking one. Honestly, it still has everything you need, it just might not be as luxurious as other camps. Now, Oddballs is one of the original camps in the Delta, so there's kind of a sacredness to it. The whole philosophy of this place is full immersion. I understand that this might not be everyone's cup of tea, so definitely know what you're signing up for before going out there. The experience here was very raw and rustic. There's no Wi-Fi, no service, no safari vehicles, and this means that all the safaris are actually on foot or on Mokoro. If you don't know what Mokoros are, they're a traditional means of transport in the Okavango Delta. They're made of sausage tree wood. They're essentially dugout canoes, and by riding them, you can glide very quietly over the water. This is a very popular thing to do when the delta is flooded and there are high water levels. Keep in mind that Mokoro rides are not available all year round. It totally depends on the conditions. I got quite lucky that there was enough water in January to go into Mokoro, and that's because there had been a lot of recent rainfall. If your heart is set on riding one of these, make sure you go at the right time of year for it. If you want to be fully disconnected, fully unplugged, Oddballs is the camp for you. Day 2. The next morning I went on a walking and Mokoro safari from this camp. KG was my very knowledgeable guide who took me out in the bush. This was definitely a very vulnerable experience. We were just out there was no ammunition involved. I was just thinking in the back of my head, trust the process. To be honest, I never really felt all that nervous or scared on the walking safari, and that's because my guide carried himself with great confidence. He was very in tune with the environment and understands animal behavior. He knows how to approach wildlife in a safe and calm manner. He's able to understand if wildlife needs to be left alone or if it's safe for us to approach. Something miraculous that he was able to do was pinpoint a leopard based on its faint call in the distance. When he proved himself that he could do that, I was like, okay, I trust you. It was definitely a bit heart racing knowing a leopard was nearby. Anything can happen in the bush, but by following the guidance of my experienced guide, I felt completely safe and I left this experience unharmed. I got really lucky on this walking safari and saw a ton. We saw lions right from camp, we saw elephants, and we even had a wild dog sighting. They were roaming right by our camp and I got a great view of them right from the airstrip. This was the first time I'd ever seen wild dogs in the wild. So this, for me, was one of the most memorable sightings of the trip. Later that day, I walked about 30 minutes to the Delta camp, which is Oddball's sister property. The Delta camp offers a more upscale experience, and I was lucky enough to stay in the treehouse room overlooking the river. Because it was a quieter time of year, I had the camp almost to myself. This is surreal. It's from here we continued on more daytime excursions, walking safaris, and Makoro rides. The Okavango Delta is truly one of the most unspoiled wilderness areas in the world, and this is why a lot of people like me are keen to go here. A huge area of untouched, raw nature. It is just absolutely stunning. On day 3, I checked out of the Delta camp and walked to the airstrip for another charter flight. I was picked up by my plane and taken to the Tubu tree camp, a wilderness safari camp known for its exclusivity and luxury. I definitely upgraded my rustic bucket shower situation because in this room I had 2 showers, one indoor and one outdoor. This place is ultra deluxe premium 5-star. Here I shifted from walking safaris to traditional game drives, which led to some of the most exciting wildlife sightings of my trip. These sightings would include leopards and dominant male lions. The hospitality at Tubu Tree was top tier with gourmet meals served in breathtaking locations and cultural performances by the staff. Day 4. Day 4 was a full day of adventures from Tubu Tree. We continued on with more game drive experiences, and in between these excursions, we enjoyed some relaxed time at the beautiful camp. My stay here was absolutely effortless. Day 5. On my last morning in Tubu Tree, we had one last unforgettable game drive with multiple leopard sightings. From there, I took a flight to the Kasane Airport, the gateway to Chobe National Park. Chobe National Park is a popular place to visit for safari goers, and that's because it has some of the highest concentrations of elephants in the entire world. Now, instead of staying at a lodge here, I actually boarded an overnight boat cruise called the Chobe Princess, a luxury safari cruise that provides a unique perspective of the wildlife from the water. This is interesting because the cruise technically operates out of Namibia, so the Chobe River that it travels along actually splits the 2 countries. You have Namibia on one side of the river and Botswana on the other. Because this company operates out of Namibia, the full staff is Namibian, I had to cross into Namibia before boarding the boat. I first had to stamp out of Botswana, take a short speedboat ride across the river, and then stamp into Namibia before boarding the cruise. I understand that this is a Botswana itinerary video, and you might be thinking, well, why are you talking about Namibia? And that's because most of the wildlife viewing on this cruise took place on the Botswana side of the river where the national park is. Day 6. Waking up on the water was an entirely new way to kick off a day on safari. One of the highlights from this cruise was taking the photography boat. This is a smaller boat that the bigger boat drags behind it. This smaller boat allows us to get closer wildlife viewing on the shorelines. It is specially designed with camera mounts, which is perfect for capturing wildlife from a stable position. From the river, we saw hundreds of hippos, elephants, and even a distant leopard. Later in the morning, we visited the local community of Njabwe in Namibia, where I had the chance to connect with locals and learn about their way of life. The afternoon was spent soaking in the laid-back atmosphere of the cruise, enjoying expertly prepared meals, and taking in the extraordinary sunsets from the top deck. The boat traveled roughly 25 to 30 kilometers along the river. After an unforgettable few days on the Chobe Princess, I stamped out of Namibia and returned to Botswana, where my driver was waiting to take me on my next adventure to Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. If you want to hear about my experience in Zimbabwe, I'm going to be sharing another video like this one covering that destination next. So hit subscribe if you want to learn about that experience and follow along for more safari adventures. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. You have a better sense of what you can see and do in 7 days. Don't forget that if you want to visit Botswana, all you have to do is reach out to me. You can start by sending me a safari inquiry, which you can find linked in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my content. I'll see you next time for the next adventure. Bye for now.